For the past 2 decades, petitions have been slighted. Our appeals have not been heard. They have been weaponized, having produced additional violence and insult. Our supplications have been disregarded, and we have been spurned with contempt by the very people who are supposed to be serving us. In vain, after these things, may we indulge in the fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer any room for hope if truth is not brought into the conversation. As Julian Assange said, wars are created with lies, therefore truth will bring peace. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve, inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, truth is the answer. We are consistently being told that we are weak, unable to cope with such a formidable adversary, invisible to the eye and with no name. To accomplish this, we must adhere to the things we swore to protect. Those that have taken the oath should remember it. An oath is important. It's an attestation of what you stand for. There are 2 types of oaths one can take.
I was employed in a defense plant, a war plant, of course, but they were always called defense plants. That was the year of the National Defense Law, the law of total conscription. Under the law, I was required to take the oath of fidelity. I said I would not. I opposed it in conscience. I was given 24 hours to think it over. In those 24 hours, I lost the world. You see, refusal would have meant the loss of my job, of course. Not prison or anything like that. Later on, the penalty was worse. But this was only 1935. But losing my job would have meant that I could not get another. Wherever I went, I should be asked why I left the job I had. And when I said why, I should certainly have been refused employment. Nobody would hire a Bolshevik. Of course, I was not a Bolshevik, but you understand what I mean. I tried not to think of myself or my family. We might have got out of the country, in any case. I could have gotten a job in industry or education somewhere else. What I tried to think of was the people to whom I might be of some help later on if things got worse, as I believe they would. I had a wide friendship in scientific and academic circles, including many Jews, and Aryans too, who might be in trouble. If I took the oath and held my job, I might be of help somehow as things went on. If I refused to take the oath, I would certainly be useless to my friends, even if I remained in the country. I myself would be in their situation. The next day, after thinking it over, I said I would take the oath with the mental reservation that, by the words with which the oath began, Ich schwöre bei Gott, I swear by God, I had understood that no human being and no government had the right to override my conscience. My mental reservations did not interest the official who administered the oath. He said, "Do you take the oath?" And I took it. That day the world was lost, and it was I who lost it. First of all, there was the problem of the lesser evil. Taking the oath was not so evil as being unable to help my friends later on would have been. But the evil of the oath was certain and immediate, and the helping of my friends was in the future and therefore uncertain. I had to commit a positive evil there and then in the hope of possible good later on. The good outweighed the evil, but the good was only a hope, the evil a fact. The hope might not have been realized, either for reasons beyond my control or because I became afraid later on, or even because I was afraid all the time and was simply fooling myself when I took the oath in the first place. But that is not the important point. The problem of the lesser evil we all know about. In Germany, we took Hindenburg as less evil than Hitler, and in the end, we got them both. But that is not why I say Americans cannot understand. No, the important point is, how many innocent people were killed by the Nazis, would you say? Shall we say, just to be safe, that 3 million innocent people were killed altogether? And how many innocent lives would you like to say I saved? Perhaps 5 or 10? One doesn't know. But shall we say 100 or 1,000 just to be safe? And it would be better to have saved all 3 million instead of only 100 or 1,000? There then is my point. If I had refused to take the oath of fidelity, I would have saved all 3 million. There I was, in 1935, a perfect example of the kind of person who, with all his advantages in birth, in education, and in position, rules, or might easily rule, in any country. If I had refused to take the oath in 1935, it would have meant that thousands and thousands like me all over Germany were refusing to take it. Their refusal would have heartened millions. Thus the regime would have been overthrown, or indeed would never have come to power in the first place. The fact that I was not prepared to resist in 1935 meant that all the thousands, hundreds of thousands, like me in Germany, were also unprepared. And each one of these hundreds of thousands was, like me, a man of great influence, or of great potential influence. Thus the world was lost. These 100 lives I saved, or 1,000, or 10 as you will, what do they represent? A little something out of the whole terrible evil, when if my faith had been strong enough in 1935, I could have prevented the whole evil. My faith, I did not believe that I could remove mountains. The day I said, no, I had faith in the process of thinking it over, in the next 24 hours, my faith failed me. So in the next 10 years, I was able to remove only anthills, not mountains. My education did not help me, and I had a broader and better education than most men have had or ever will have. All it did in the end was to enable me to rationalize my failure of faith more easily than I might have done if I had been ignorant. And so it was, I think, among educated men generally in that time in Germany. Their resistance was no greater than other men's.
There are 2 types of oaths one can take.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
There's my Bible right there.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly affirm.
I do solemnly swear.
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 Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies.
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 Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
True faith and allegiance.
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance.
And allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely.
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 Freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office
on which I am about to enter.
That I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office in which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
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 So help me God. So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God. So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Remember your oath.